Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the Photobooth Supply Co YouTube channel. My name's Cameron from the Photobooth Supply Co success team, and I'm here again with Catalina from Modern Photo Booth. And today we're actually going to be talking about how you can use virtual booth for your next in-person event, which might sound kind of weird, and a lot of people are even wondering how you can do that. But believe it or not, I've talked with a couple of booth owners who have been doing this. Catalina has talked with people who have done it as well. And it's really a lot easier than you might think. And it's something that I know you and me, Kat, we've talked a lot about how virtual events and how virtual booth is going to be so important even post-COVID. And I think this is just one example of it, because just because it has virtual in the name doesn't really mean that it has to be virtual at all. So Kat, I'll let you kind of talk a little bit about it, how you've been seeing people use it, and just kind of getting started from there.
Yeah, definitely. So this is super fun. Change of scenery. I don't know if you guys noticed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at my warehouse today because we wanted to do a whole setup for you guys. So yeah, virtual booth in the real world is an interesting thing that came to be. I've heard a couple of people doing this, and we've actually quoted out a few of these as well. So virtual booth has opened the door to a lot of things, and I'm going to talk to you guys about a couple of different options that you can do with your virtual booth. And I think, I don't know, maybe I'll just list them. But what I love about virtual booth is that, like, the first thing is, if you have ever run into a situation where you've been double booked because you don't have another photo booth and you can't get one in time, you have virtual booth and you can
Mm-hmm.
still do the event. And we can kind of go into that a little bit once I show you guys the setup.
Yeah.
But also with hybrid events coming back, like that's a big
Mm-hmm.
thing, and you can have physical photo booths there, but maybe people want to have like multiple different setups.
Mm-hmm.
And in some places, like, COVID's still going to be around for a bit, and they don't really
Yeah.
want to have that contact with a machine. So this is where virtual booth comes in, and we're going to talk about how you can actually set up a virtual booth for an in-person event.
Mm-hmm.
But I think first, before we do that, just for anyone who hasn't set up virtual booth, Cameron, do you want to give them a little walkthrough of
Yeah.
like how quick and easy they can do it in Salsa?
Yeah, for sure. And I actually, so if you guys were watching the live stream last week, I actually went through, and I'm going to share my screen with you guys here so you can see kind of what I'm looking at. I actually walked through last week and I went over how you can easily make a virtual booth. Last week was all about corporate virtual events, but honestly, making a virtual event, whether it's corporate or a wedding or a birthday, it's just like the normal salsa event. They're really all the same. It's just how you change and use certain features to upsell them to your client. So I've kind of gone over that. If you want a full refresher, maybe you've never actually played around with virtual booth yet, definitely check out that video. It's the most recent one before this one. And we talk about how you can make a full virtual event. But like Kat said, just to kind of give you guys a summary, this is an event that I've already created. This is the event dashboard for it. So I'm just going to go into the configure event button up here in the upper right hand corner. And then after I click on that, you just go through, customize your event like you normally would for any other in-person or virtual event. And then you click on virtual booth on this left-hand side, and it's under the event settings tab. Now, the cool thing about virtual booth, and what I love so much about it, honestly, is that it copies everything over. So like I said, if you know how to make a normal salsa event, you already know how to make a virtual event, whether you've done it or not. There's a couple things that you can customize, but I won't talk about those too much. We have the stickers, which Kat, you and I talked about stickers 2 weeks ago. Those are really
Yep.
fun. So if you haven't played around with those, definitely be sure to do so. But essentially, once you set it up, you just enable it and then you click on copy link, and that's going to be the link that you have for the virtual event. And it's really that easy to do. So it doesn't take a lot of work to make a virtual event. Getting the link is super easy. And there's a bunch of different ways that you can share the link without just copying and pasting it, as weird as that might sound. One of the things that we're going to talk about today is using a QR code to actually advertise and help people find the virtual event. And even though that's not something that's built into Salsa directly, getting a QR code is super easy, like very, very easy to do. You can go to Google, and I'll actually do it with you guys. If you guys just go to Google, you can search for QR code generator. There's a billion and one, billion and one of them available that you can use.
Yeah.
Click on whichever one you think is the easiest to use. And all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to paste that code or that link that I copied from my virtual booth. You guys can see that it's the booth picks link. And all I do then is just create the QR code. And it has now created a QR code for me that I can print out. I can put on a business card. You can put it on your website in emails. So it's really, really easy to get these QR codes. And like I said, it's not built in, but doing it is just a matter of Googling and pasting a link, and that's pretty much it.
Cameron, you want to see something I literally just discovered
Yeah,
a day and a half ago? And I don't
absolutely.
know if you have it on yours, but click on your virtual booth link from
Sure.
Salsa.
Mm-hmm.
And then, right, because I can't see your screen right now because I'm watching on YouTube and that's why I keep like coming in closer. I'm watching on YouTube on one side so I can see what's happening, and then I'm like here to see what's going on. In your URL bar, if you
Yeah.
click on it, you should get an icon that looks like 4 squares in a box on the right-hand side. Do you have that?
I don't know. It might be a browser thing. You might be using a different browser than I am. I'm using Firefox. I don't know if that
Oh,
makes a difference.
oh, darn it. Okay, so in Chrome, there's actually, I don't know when they built this in, but if you click on your URL in
Mm-hmm.
Chrome, it actually gives you an option to make any link into a QR code. And then it
Really?
has a really cute little dinosaur in the middle. Yeah, and then you can download the
Huh.
QR code. So if you don't have like any skills of making QR codes at all,
Sure.
you can literally just make one from the URL and download that. It won't be branded or anything, but it couldn't
Right.
be any simpler. And give
Huh.
me a second. I'm going to grab a QR code so let's jump into that one first.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'm actually so now, guys. What I'm gonna do is I am going to. You're gonna not see me. You'll still hear me, but I'm gonna switch over to Catalina Studio so she can kind of show us a full setup and what that actually is gonna look like. So perfect, Kat. It's all you.
Oh boy. Okay, so the first thing I actually want to talk about is the QR code that Cameron just showed you guys how to make, because you're probably like, great, I have a QR code. Now what the heck do I do with it?
Yeah.
So the first thing that you can do to bring virtual booth to like real live events is to print it on and put it into a frame. So this is a frame that we made. I know it's really hard to see. I'm sorry because I use like light gray um, writing, and also this thing is very dirty. But this we put on tables at weddings. And so it brings a virtual booth to every single person's table at a wedding. So you can do this for events because right now here in Canada, we have restrictions where you can't actually mingle at events. This is a really great way to bring the photo booth to the people.
Mm-hmm.
You can do this anywhere too. If you were at a trade show, for example, or you can do like scavenger hunts throughout the city where people can like take photos in certain places where they like put QR codes. Like you can literally use this for anything. I've heard people use it at restaurants. There's one PBSEO owner, David. He uses it at restaurants all the time. You can do this like anywhere you can print something and put it. You can put
Mm-hmm.
a QR code and have somebody have a virtual booth in their hand, right? Take a photo, share it, have like incentives for them to like share it on social media. So that's just one of the first ways to bring the virtual booth to live events. The second way, which is a bit more, I don't know, a bigger setup, is actually what you see behind me here. So I'm going to show you guys how we would set up a virtual booth at an event without a booth. So this is essentially setting up a selfie station for people, but you're controlling how, like where the output is going, because you're going to have a
Right.
QR code set up. Now, I don't have a QR code set up because quite frankly, I can't print something on demand that big, but normally not normally because we've never done it before, but what we're going to be doing is have either a poster or like an A-frame sign that will have a printed QR code on it with instructions on what people can do. So we'll just have that off to the side. And then I'm going to see if I can bring these closer to you guys. But what I have here are the Yuongo lights, and
The infamous
they're
lights.
on. Yeah. Now these ones are old, so you're probably like, why do they look different? Because they're old. Okay. Had them forever. So these are just LED lights and they're super bright. This is at like 60% right now. There we go. That's 100. So they're really, really, really bright. And the nice thing is too, they run off batteries. Now these batteries don't last very long, like 45 minutes. So I have like a ginormous tub of them, but you can also get an AC adapter plug-in for them. And then what I did is I put them on mic stands so that it's a lot cleaner. And the mic stand base is actually extremely heavy. And I just realized I'm cutting off my own face. It's really heavy. So these are sturdy. So we set up 2 of these in front of a backdrop like this. And you can just like literally turn them on. So we would charge our client for a backdrop rental at this point. We would charge them for the light rentals as well. The carpet is from my office, so that doesn't come with. I guess I could ask for it if they really wanted to. And then people literally come in here and then they have perfect lighting to take selfies.
Mm-hmm.
So that you'd have like the QR code off to the side and they would just scan it with their phone and then they can take selfies here with whatever backdrop you want them to have. If you're doing the rental, then great. Or if they're doing like a step and repeat or something like that, then that's how this is like an ideal setup for virtual booth. Now I'm going to turn these off because I don't want to have to charge those for a few hours after. But that's how we would execute like pretty much like a selfie station where you're going to have great lighting and you're going to be able to control that the photos are going to the live gallery and how people are going to receive their photos, all that kind of stuff. So that's how you're going to do in-person ones. So if anyone has questions about that, I mean, please let us know.
Yeah.
But I think this is going to be a huge thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the thing about it is, and I'm actually going to switch back to the both of us so we can, so I'm not just
tell me which way to go.
You're good. You're good. Perfect. Don't move.
Okay.
The thing about it too is you don't actually have to have just one, like Kat said, one selfie station. You can have multiple ones. And that's actually, I've talked with one booth owner who's doing this for a university commencement. And they're having multiple stations. And again, just like what Kat said before, when it comes to actually taking that QR code and giving it to people, if it's like a commencement, a prom, anything that might have like a handout or a flyer, you can even print it as part of that handout or part of that flyer. Everyone is going to have that in their hand. And QR codes, they might seem kind of scary because it is, I don't want to say new because they're definitely not new, but after this last year, so many restaurants and so many places have really reverted the QR codes that at this point, even people who had no idea what they were before, they're at least familiar with them now. They've seen them more. They've probably even used them once or twice. So it's a lot more common than than it might have been in the past. So don't be afraid of that either. If you are concerned, maybe it's an older crowd, you can always give some instructions and literally just open the camera on your phone. Take a picture of the QR
and I know a lot of our owners do like elaborate backdrop setups, and a lot of them are also like balloon artists and that kind of stuff. So for you guys, like this is a great way to always sell a photo booth with your setups, without having to have like multiple booths. And this is, like I said before, this is a great way to just gauge whether or not it's time for you to get another booth.
Yeah.
You can do a couple of these. And then, for me, when I was trying to figure out like, do I need another booth? If I had to turn down 3 events, I would have paid for my booth right there. So that's how I know like when I need to get a second booth or a third or whatever, however many I'm at now, but hopefully no more right now.
Yeah. No, but it is true. And it's a really good point that if you're not 100% sure, use it as a kind of an intermediate solution. Or even if you need to order one. I mean, we know that sometimes you don't always have the best control of when you're going to have your next event. Somebody might come and say, hey, I have an event this weekend. Are you guys free? Well, instead of turning them down, you can just have somebody go out, set up that backdrop, set up those lights, and then you can, if that's going to be a more consistent thing, like Kat said, start looking at getting a second or third or however many booth that you might need. So.
And for us, the reason that we quoted this out to someone was that we are doing a lot of hybrid event quoting, because right now we don't know what's happening here in Canada. We literally just found out today, like we might be opening up in like a month, at least in Ontario here, and how slow of a process that is looking like right now. So for us, we're planning events that are in person, but they're also virtual. So we have a virtual component to it, but they really want that in-person photo booth. Also limitations of how many people can actually like gather at once. And photo booths generally tend to like attract crowds of people. So in this case, we told them, well, here's, what the quote is for an in-person photo booth. Here's what the quote is with the virtual booth, because we are doing it hybrid. But then we said, as a backup plan, if for whatever reason you can't have that physical photo booth there because of any reason, we can set up these selfie stations for you using the exact same event, so that everyone who's taking a photo in the front hallway, maybe when they're coming in, so then that way there's no gathering or anything like that. At least they're getting that photo on the red carpet, and then they're also able to use the virtual booth at their table with the QR codes, and the people who are virtual can also use it as well. So just a few more ways that you can generate additional income, and of course charge for all these things. Please, like, don't just throw them in for free.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that actually brings me to the next question, which I don't think we have any questions yet. And again, as always, if you guys have any questions, definitely throw them in the chat. How much would you charge for this compared to your normal booth? because obviously every area and every person is going to charge a different amount for their booth. But compared to what you would charge, let's just say that this was the same situation, but it was an in-person normal salsa booth, what would be the difference in price there? Because I think that's one question that almost everybody's going to ask.
Yep. Well, so our in-person salsa booth, like a rental with no prints, nothing, just digital for 3 hours and a backdrop, obviously one person, is $975. Actually, for only for another 10 days. And then our price is actually going up a little bit. But for something like a virtual booth, the backdrop rental for us is $100. The lights would be another $100. And then our base price for a virtual booth, for an all-day virtual booth is $500. But because we actually have time constraints on this one, it really depends on the amount of, I guess, design work. But let's say it was a very basic salsa booth that we were setting up, probably be looking about $300 to actually set up just a basic one with like one photo, let's say, and a live gallery. And the rentals here. So we never really want to be under $500 for any rentals because it just doesn't really make sense for us. But then we'd also have a delivery fee and that's another $150. So they're pretty close to the same price as having an in-person booth because they're still getting a very similar experience. It's just on the person's hand instead of on a nice machine, right? So that's kind of the big difference between the pricing. So let's say that this whole setup, as a basic starting point, would probably be around $750.
Yeah. And it's not even, even if it's not a matter of, let's say you have a client who comes to you and they are interested in your booth. And like Kat said, let's just pretend that you charge $975. Maybe that's over their budget. Maybe they don't want to spend that much. This is another good alternative for those people who maybe they don't meet what your normal booth pricing is. You could always offer this as a separate solution. It's a little bit more cost effective, both for you and for them. And they're still able to work with you. And then they're getting that experience. They're experiencing what it's like to work with you. And they'll probably be back in the future, but probably next time for your normal booth because they've seen how amazing of an experience it is just virtual. Now imagine with the actual booth. So even for those situations, again, it's an easy sell in a lot of cases. Like, hey, I have this alternative for you. You got to use your own device, use your own phone, but you're still going to get most of the same experience. And, most people will go with that. So.
And you have to remember that the reason that they want the photo booth there isn't just because it takes photos, because everyone does have a phone and they can take their own photo. What a photo booth does for your client, it collects the email addresses, it allows them to do branding, it allows them to have the live gallery, it allows them to send emails with information to their clients. Like there's a lot of benefits to it that you can still get without having to have a physical booth in there. And even if your client is the one that's supplying the backdrop, like maybe they've created a step and repeat wall or a red carpet or something like that, you can still offer it to them. Just tell them maybe you only bring the lights and you print the QR code for them. Maybe they do everything and you literally never have to leave your house other than to set up the actual virtual booth. It's a great way to be able to target those lower paying jobs if, like you said, somebody's outside of your regular budget. And of course, they're not going to get like the amazing service of your booth attendant there, but at the same time, people will be able to do this on their own by just scanning the QR code. So it's really about making sure that you're able to service your clients' needs, regardless of what kind of product you have in your arsenal, or like, being able to just see around like obstacles if you don't have enough booths. Do the virtual booth if they just want people to take photos but collect them centralized. Virtual booth for sure. Can't mingle. Virtual booth. The answer is just virtual booth. Okay.
No, for sure. And remember the value that this has too, as kind of like, Kat's already talked about it. Make sure you're charging for this stuff. Every add-on, every additional rental that you're providing them, whether it's lights or the backdrop, make sure you're charging for that. But also don't forget that the value of a virtual booth is really not much different than an in-person booth. And I can't stress that enough, because so often we'll see people in our Facebook groups or in other places talk about how they're selling the virtual booth for nothing, next to nothing, just because it's virtual. Do not forget that the value is pretty much the same. Most of what you can do on a normal salsa booth, you can also do on the salsa virtual booth. There are very few differences now. A while ago, maybe a little bit more, but now we've kind of gotten to the point where almost everything you can do is on the virtual booth. I'm really kind of struggling to think of something that you can't really do. So the value is there. Just keep that in mind.
Maybe printing, technically.
Yeah. But even then, you could still offer a solution. So it's a tricky one.
I know. No, I love virtual booth just for so like I think this is going to stay around for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that like I mean I made a prediction about QR codes when this whole thing happened. I will link the video if you guys don't believe me, but I remember when this happened, I'm like, all right, this is the turning point where
Right.
North America is going to get into QR codes because in Asia they're everywhere. In
Yeah.
like China you pay with a QR code.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. So they're here to stay, virtual booths here to stay. And
Yeah.
it's just another tool that you can use to grow your business and to offer your clients additional things. So yeah, we got a quiet bunch today.
I
What's going
know.
on?
Yeah, the group's not very chatty today. Is everybody okay? I mean, I know it's been a crazy week for us. Has it been a crazy week for you guys too?
I think the weather's turning nice and they're like, you
Yeah.
know what, we'll watch this later.
Yeah, they're either watching it later, or maybe they're even sitting outside, but they've got their computer on the table. They're far away, or who knows.
Yep,
But yeah,
probably.
no, like I said too, QR codes they have, and the thing about it too, what I kind of my last thing I want to touch on is if you have tried selling virtual booth already, maybe you tried last year and maybe you didn't see very much success, give it a shot now, because again, a lot of time has passed. And over this last year,
Yep.
people have not only become more comfortable with QR codes, but the idea of what a virtual event is, people understand it now. I don't think there's a single person out there who hasn't had some sort of virtual birthday party, FaceTime birthday party, or a Skype wedding, or whatever it might be. So everybody is very, very familiar with virtual and what that actually means now. So again, if you haven't tried it,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe you tried it and it just didn't work well for your area, give it another shot. You never know. Oh, we do have one. We got one chatty person. Hey, Kelly, how's it going?
Hey, Kelly.
Like you said, a quiet bunch today. But I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I mean, today was going to be kind of
Mm-hmm.
a quick live stream just to go over some of that stuff because we've had a lot of questions about it. We also have a lot of new excited salsa owners who are waiting to get their booth. So if you book any events before maybe you actually receive yours, this is another really great option to have.
Yep.
And next week, we're going to be doing a very similar style live stream, but we're going to be talking all about green screen. More and more people have been talking about it and getting interested in it. So if you want to learn more about green screen, how it works, how you can sell it, the pricing, all that good stuff, make sure to join us next week, 3:15 p.m. That actually might be why we threw people off this week, Kat. We changed the time on them.
The 15 minutes.
Yeah. We're an
Maybe.
hour and 15
That's
minutes
fair.
late, but we're here. We're here.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
it's an hour and 15. Damn it.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. That's my fault, guys.
No.
My schedule changed and I had to move this.
No, you're good. No, we're good. They'll at least now you
Right.
guys know. If you're watching this later, next week, 3:15 p.m. Pacific time, we'll be doing our live stream all about green screen. So, anything you want to add, Kat, before we finish up?
There was something, but I think I forgot what I was going to say. I really should have written that down. You were talking about new people, virtual booth.
If we remember, we'll throw it in
No,
the
I'm
comments.
sorry. Yeah, there we go. If anyone has questions, drop them in the comments. I'll come back and check later tonight and tomorrow. And yeah, also feel free to hit me up in the Facebook group at any time. You guys know you can ask me any questions, just tag me. And as soon as I get back online, I will go. I try to check Facebook every single day. And answer any questions. So feel free to tag me in the group if you have questions about virtual booth or anything really that you've seen me talk about. I'm more than happy to share information.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again so much, Kat, for joining us. And like I said, next week, 3:15 p.m. Pacific time. What is that in Eastern time? 6:15? Yeah, 6:15.
Yeah.
Yep, we will be live talking about green screen. So thank you everybody who has who tuned in and was hanging out with us today. Special
Thanks,
shout
Kelly.
out to Kelly for being the only chatty one. But yeah, we'll be back next week, guys. And as always, if you like this kind of content, make sure you do like the video and you subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you are notified when we're live, even if we do it a little bit later than normal. You'll still get that notification.
Exactly.
So awesome. Well, thank you guys so much, and we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.